So recently I uploaded a YouTube short that shows an 8-speed rear derailleur working with the 9-speed drivetrain, along with my Shimano Tiagra 4500 shifters that are 9-speed. And I show that it works totally fine. However, when you have something working on a bike stand, it is definitely different than if you're actually riding it in the real world. So today's ride is just me testing if the rear derailleur has any issues, but so far it's working fine, but I gotta do a full ride. So if you've been following me on Instagram, you'll know that I've been actively collecting the Shimano 105 SC series. Now there's two different versions of the series. There's the 1055 version, which is a 7-speed, and a 1056 version, which is an 8-speed. The 1055 has down tube shifters, aero brake levers, and one tiny detail with the rear derailleur. When they switched over to the 1056, they switched to 8-speed indexing, which came with STI shifters and the rear derailleur I'm using now. So in order to shed some light on this group set, I'm gonna start off by talking about the rear derailleur. So along with the Tiagra 4500 shifters that I have on the setup, I actually have the Shimano 5500 105 9-speed crank set on here. So it's just kind of a Frankenstein build and it's working pretty good. Oh, and then lastly, I have the Shimano Sora R3000 front derailleur. So with the limited sources online and research I've done, it seems like the 1055 and the 1056 rear derailleur only has one difference, and that's that the 1056 rear derailleur has the 8-speed SIS engraved on it, but the 1055 doesn't have that engraving. Now, obviously from just experience, the 1056 once again works fine with the 9-speed, but I don't have experience if the 1055 rear derailleur works with the 9-speed. I'm not too sure about the lateral range with it. So until I collect that rear derailleur, I'm just gonna advise just sticking with the 1056 rear derailleur if you have a 9-speed, or what it's intended for, an 8-speed. All right, so I'm coming up to my first hill. I wanna see when I'm out of the saddle if I can shift while I'm out of the saddle, and there's no ghost shifting or anything like that. Well, that went without a hitch. It was just what I expected from the Shimano 105 series, even the series from the 90s. I was even shifting under load, shift totally fine. What's funny too is I actually used to really hate the color of this group set. For some reason, it just was gross to me, but it was like a light switch. Suddenly one day I was like, actually, I think that's pretty good. The color is more, you know how like a Super Nintendo yellowed over the years, regardless if someone in the household was smoking cigarettes or not? That's kind of the color, but it does have a little bit of silver flake to it too, so it does glisten in the sun, but it's not chrome, it's not silver. One thing I'm confused about is, do you call it the 1055 and 1056 series? Or do you say 1055 or 1056? Personally, I don't know. There's no record online or anything of how to pronounce it that I've found. So let me know in the comments, which do you prefer? All right, now that I replaced my super cheap tripod, I can finally film sprints again. So I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna see if there's any jumping or ghost shifting under heavy load from the rear derailleur. Oh yeah, not a problem at all. But what do you expect? I mean, it's Shimano 105. In my personal opinion, I think the 90s is when they started to really perfect the components and group sets to where it's just no frills, no hassle, and it gets the job done. So I'm really happy with that. You know what I noticed too? is that this rear derailleur does not fuss at all if you're guilty of doing a little cross chaining. All right, I'm heading back home now. I don't think anything else is gonna pop up because this rear derailleur is really good. So I'm gonna head home and give you my final thoughts. All right, back at home, and today's ride was a success. The rear derailleur gave me no problems whatsoever. This is a fantastic rear derailleur. I'm very impressed. And a reason why I say I'm impressed is because I was shifting under load a few times and it shifted with no complaints. Another thing too is my chain is pretty old, it's pretty worn. So the fact that it's working flawlessly says a lot about the quality of the 1056 rear derailleur. Like I mentioned earlier and like I've posted on my Instagram, I went all out with the 1056 group set. I got the brake calipers, the STI shifters, the crankset, the front derailleur, the headset, which I actually already have that headset on the Performance, funny enough. I just bought that because it was new old stock, a great price, and a perfect replacement when this headset goes out. And side note, I got this rear derailleur for 20 bucks off of eBay. That's a steal of a deal. But I want to thank you so much for watching, joining me on this video, subscribing and liking and commenting. I really do have such a blast interacting with everyone, and hopefully if you're in the market for the 1055, 1056 group set, or just flat out curious and how it looks, I'm glad I can provide that, and stay subscribed because there definitely will be more with those components.